Welcome into the Cowboys Report. I am your host, Tom Downey, back once again with some Cowboys rumors, and the rumor that will not go away and probably won't for quite a while is on a Jamal Adams trade. This continues to be 2 stars, but there was some updates from ESPN that I felt were worth mentioning as it relates to the Cowboys and Jamal Adams. Now, a report from the ESPN Jets beat writer is that there is no progress on a Jamal Adams extension. If you remember, the last time we discussed a possible Jamal Adams trade, it came under the context that, look, if the Cowboys think an Adams deal isn't going to get done with the Jets, they would try to swoop back in and make a new deal. In that ESPN article, the writer mentions that there are rumors out there the Cowboys could attempt a pre-draft trade. That is significant because a deal is not going to get done, I don't believe, and the writer does not believe, for Adams in terms of an extension before the draft. Now, the Cowboys have had interest before. They offered, one of their last offers was reportedly a first-round pick and Anthony Brown heading to the Jets. The Jets' demands were various forms. Some involved Tyron Smith or Zack Martin. Picks-wise, it came down to a first and a pair of second-rounders. The Cowboys, of course, did not make that deal. Now, I think the price for Adams in terms of a trade has probably dropped a little bit because you missed out on half a season worth of games. But Adams is one of the best, if not the best, young safeties in the NFL. His production is awesome. He's not a great interception guy, but he's great around the line of scrimmage. He is a classic strong safety. He is almost, heck, he was actually the Jets' best pass rusher last year. So if you could get Jamal Adams, I think you would be doing yourself a disservice if you didn't at least try. But the question is, what does the draft pick compensation, the trade compensation, end up looking like? That is an issue right now for the Cowboys and for the Jets. And frankly, I don't think a pre-draft trade is going to happen. Maybe a draft trade makes some sense if there's no one the Cowboys want at 17, which may or may not happen. But if it does go down, maybe things start to really struggle for the Cowboys and for the Jets and Adams as they get closer to the season starting. If we get to August, September, and there's no extension done for Adams, who very clearly wants one, maybe the Cowboys attempt then to swoop back in and try and get a deal done for the immensely talented young safety. So I'll ask you a simple question here, very easy. Do you want Jamal Adams on the Cowboys? If your answer is yes, then just like this video. Not going to have you go comment. All you're going to do is like it. Very simple. If you're watching on YouTube, you get an ad break here. That's your best chance. Go scroll down and like the video if you want Adams on the Dallas Cowboys. Let's go over to Dez Bryant now, because that one also will not die. And Dez himself kind of helping things out with his workouts with Dak Prescott. But does that have any actual change? The answer is no. It's forced. Now, I hear you guys already saying, wait, but Tom, Dak offered praise for Dez. They're working out together. It's going to happen, right? We'll discuss that. Look, Dak and Dez are working out, with Zeke included, by the way, which I actually like to see quite a bit. And Dak did reportedly offer some praise for Dez Bryant. We'll get to his alleged text here in just a second. And yes, the Cowboys haven't closed the door yet on Dez Bryant. But the reality of it, beyond, Dak working out, which I like to see with some former players, his old friends, his teammates, I like that. That's good. Don't get me wrong. And Dez does look better. I don't think, though, from the Cowboys' perspective, that really does much to move the needle. Now, here was the report, really from Brian Broaddus, but Jeff Kavanaugh tweeted it out. I got a text from someone, Brian Broaddus saying this, who said Dak is telling people that Dez looks good and should be on a team. I'll tell you what, I completely agree with Dak Prescott. You could go back and look at the early workout videos Dez Bryant posted. He looks quicker, faster, and in better shape. That's a good sign. But I think it's noteworthy that the exact words that were used were not my team, the Cowboys, a team. Because Dak's right. Look, there are 32 teams in the NFL. Every team carries at least 5 receivers. Is Dez a top 150 receiver? Of course he is. I don't think anyone's going to argue against that. But you have to find the fit and the role for Dez on the Cowboys. I'm not quite sure what that is yet. After the NFL draft, we will have a much better feel for how sensible, plausible, and what the potential role could be for Dez Bryant. Regardless, I got no issues with a cheap one-year deal. I am all aboard that. Why not? There's no harm in that. There's no downside. If it doesn't work out, you cut him. If he makes the roster, awesome. And that helps out your wide receiver core. The issue right now for the Cowboys is that beyond their top two, they don't have much. You could make an argument, and frankly, I'll probably agree with you, that Dez might be the third best receiver on that team right now, even though he hasn't played in 2 years. The issue for me is you can't just sign Dez and be like, we're good. We took care of our receiver issue. Hasn't played in 2 years. That's a bad idea. And frankly, 2017, it just wasn't right between Dak and Dez. He clearly was not a number one receiver. So let's get through the draft. Let's see when the Cowboys take a receiver. Let's see how many receivers they end up taking. If there is still room for a guy to compete for that number 4, maybe number 3 receiver role, then yeah, I'm calling Dez. I'm also not guaranteeing Dez anything at this point. I got some deals for you guys. Head over to chatsports.com/Cowboys jersey. If you use promo code STEEL, you can save 25% off. All kinds of jerseys. And little known fun fact here, if you are convinced that Dez Bryant will be back on the Cowboys, you can go get one of his. They still got Dez jerseys on there, and guess what? They're on sale for even more than 25% off. That is chatsports.com/Cowboys jersey. Use that promo code STEEL for 25% off, and do not worry, I'll make your life easier. That link and that promo code are both going to be in the comments and in the description. Let's talk about Dak Prescott now, specifically a potential holdout here, which we haven't really mentioned much about. I'll give it the 1 star. It's funny that this wasn't really on anyone's radar because it was obviously wasn't going to happen. But yesterday, Monday, was supposed to be the start of the Cowboys workout program. Because Mike McCarthy's in town and the new head coach, they were allowed to start earlier. Well, that got delayed because, no one's allowed to work out right now. All the gyms are closed. All right, you can't do stuff right now in the world that we're in right now. The normal pre-delay because of the Big C deadline or timeline was April 6th, workouts start. Mid-May, early June, probably more like mid-May, OTAs begin. You also got rookie mini camps in there. July 13th, the Cowboys could start training camp. July 15th, which I guess is now the main deadline for Dak, is a deal for franchise tag players. Otherwise, he has to play the year on the franchise tag. So the Cowboys, in reality, kind of avoided a potentially awkward situation where Dak does not have a new deal yet. So would he have shown up to workouts on Monday, or would he have tried to hold out? And not really, it's not really a holdout, but that's the reality of it because he hasn't signed his deal yet, but we'll call it a holdout for simplicity issues. Would he have shown up? I think he would have, and I still don't think a Dak holdout happens, but Dak is playing it correctly from his perspective. You leave that door open. You don't guarantee anything because you want to get your long-term extension. So it's a very unique situation the Cowboys are in, and because the workouts are, at this point, probably not going to happen, at least in terms of the way that normal schedule fits and timeline and the dates in between everything, just a unique situation. Now, I don't like holdouts. You guys, I think I've made that clear before on the show. I don't think holdouts are a good idea. I am not a fan of them. I don't think Dak is the type of guy to hold out either. But do you think that he will? Type Y for yes, N for no. Do you believe that Dak Prescott, if we get closer to camp, we get closer to the start of OTAs, whenever those end up being, will he hold out? Type Y for yes or N for no. All right, let's talk draft now. Zack Baun and the Cowboys. This one is interesting to me, and I'm going to give it 2 stars. The Cowboys have posted another video of their behind-the-scenes Zoom video meetings with draft prospects. Number 2 was Zack Baun. The Cowboys publicized that one. Interesting path there. Baun, if you guys like John Owning, for example, you guys know that he loves John Owning. I like Zack Baun. I'm not as high on Baun as Owning is, but it's an intriguing option for the Cowboys. Baun is a kind of an almost awkward tweener between edge and linebacker. I am playing him at edge. I think that's going to be his best fit in the NFL. But it's weird because I think he goes between 17 and between 51. So would the Cowboys take him at 17? Would they move down, move up to get him? I'm not sure. Baun's production was awesome this year at Wisconsin. 19.5 tackles for loss, 12.5 sacks. Like, Tom, why wouldn't you want this guy at number 17 overall? Well, where do you play him? Zack Baun is not big. He is an undersized edge. He's lighter than Randy Gregory is, right? Or at least was in his NFL playing days. Does he fit as a 4-3 defensive end? I'm not sure. The Cowboys, quite simply, folks, they might choose to view Zack Baun as a linebacker. Someone who's on the call in a second as well, and that could have an impact. But Baun might fit best as a Sam linebacker on base downs in a 4-3 scheme. That's the strong side linebacker. And then an edge rusher on passing downs. I don't think the Cowboys should add a linebacker that early. It could be a good fit, though, if the value ends up being right. And I suspect, and this maybe isn't a huge surprise, that the Cowboys view Baun as a linebacker based on the own staff who were on the call with Zack Baun. Here's who it is. Obviously, Mike McCarthy, Jerry Jones, Will McClay, and Mike Nolan. That's not a huge surprise, all heavily involved in the draft prospect. Now, there were some other people and staff that I had to dig into here. You probably don't know these names, and that's okay. Justin Rudd is one of the analytics guys with the Cowboys. He worked with Mike McCarthy when McCarthy didn't have a job. That's noteworthy. That was a Mike McCarthy-led hire. Rob Davis is one of McCarthy's guys as well, kind of more or less figuring out if it's a good fit in terms of locker room personalities. Klein Kubiak is a scout. And then Jessica McCallahan is a member of the player personnel program. That's what personnel means. I believe her job is more on the coordinating side. If you look at the video the Cowboys posted, she was the host, so she's probably heavily involved in that area. Other, in terms of coaches on the call that I was able to see on that video, I had to really kind of zoom and crop and all that. Special teams guys, John Fossil, Matt Daniels, that makes sense. George Edwards, the defensive assistant, and then Scott McClurley, the linebackers coach. I will choose to read into that, and I will believe that means the Cowboys prefer Baun as a linebacker than maybe a pure edge rusher. Now, that is the type of names you haven't heard, but I will tell you who they are. Investigation stuff you can expect here on the Cowboys Report. And we're not going anywhere. We know a lot of you guys are stuck, or maybe I should say safe at home. The videos will continue to come here on the Cowboys Report. So if you want to be a member of the #1 Cowboys YouTube channel in terms of fan interaction and comments and views and, of course, subscribers, hit that big red button and join the club today. Next up, how about this idea? And I kind of like it. Tony Pollard getting some more work at wide receiver. I will give it 3 stars. Now, I want to make it clear. I do not mean full-time wide receiver. But wide receiver reps, some slot reps, I like that idea. And remember, Tony Pollard coming out of Memphis, well, he was used as a receiver at Memphis. Now, again, I don't think you use him there full-time. But I think at times, in certain personnel, in terms of motion, in terms of maybe Tony Pollard becomes the guy you give jet sweeps to. I think that makes sense. Now, Pollard at Memphis, he was really a running back wide receiver hybrid. He played them almost evenly, especially at the end of his career. His final season, 39 grabs for 458, 3 scores, even more involved in 2017. And the Cowboys right now, they don't have much at receiver. So if the season opened today and this was your wide receiver core, I might have to move Tony Pollard more to slot. Now, you draft somebody, and of course, you end up being fine there. But I thought this was an interesting idea by Inside the Star. He was more involved in the passing game later on in the year. I think you should use Pollard more as a gadget player in that wide receiver running back role. That allows him to get more touches. So with that in mind, how many touches should Tony Pollard get per game? Let me know what you guys think in the comments section. Hopefully we don't veer into the dozen 200 touches territory that we were in for one Tavon Austin. Last rewind, I'm almost kind of more of a news item here on Aldon Smith. Is he bulked up? Well, this comes from Jay Glazer, and yeah, I am inclined to believe this one. 4 stars right here. Remember, Jay Glazer, the NFL reporter, also runs some training stuff, and Aldon has been working out with Glazer. And Glazer says that they got Aldon Smith up to 287. Oh boy. Now, I don't think he'll play quite that heavy, but Aldon Smith, who played more in the 260s, had some significant mass that Aldon bulked up with. And I know it's not 300 pounds. I'm going to claim Aldon Smith is now a member of Fatty's Only 2020. I'm just going to claim it. That's how it's going to work here. Now, I think Smith might play at a little bit lower rate come, the actual NFL season, but I think this does help answer the question, well, what kind of shape is Aldon Smith in? Of course, Glazer's only going to say positive things here. That's not a huge surprise, but I am inclined to believe Jay Glazer, who has broken, of course, the McCarthy hiring and Aldon Smith as well. I still don't believe that Aldon Smith is guaranteed anything on this roster. I don't think that's the reality of the contract. That's not the reality of the player who hasn't played in several years, but it does give the Cowboys some wild card options between Aldon Smith and Randy Gregory. Could the Cowboys end up stringing with just one of those players? If you do, that's a big boost to a pass rush that certainly needs after losing Robert Quinn.
Hey Cowboys fans, thanks for watching the Cowboys Report. If you haven't already, click right here to subscribe to our channel for all the best Cowboys coverage on the internet. That's news, rumors, highlights, mailbags, film studies, and a whole lot more. And I'm making your lives a little bit easier as well with the next Cowboys Report video right here.